Project for today is going to be this Kohler K301 engine. Guy has it set up, or it looks like he took it out of a lawnmower. Has the whole dash and everything bolted on here. He had it on a wood splitter and he took it off to put a more modern engine on it, and he said that one blew up now, so he wanted to go back to this one. So we're going to see if we can get this one going for him. Looks like we have a spot down here. We'll have to put a battery, because this one does have, you gotta have a battery for the ignition on this. It's got the external coil like that, and this one's got external points. So we'll have to monkey with the wiring a little bit. It looks like he had a bunch of stuff disconnected here from the key switch, so we have to hook that back up. A lot of this older stuff's not super difficult, like these wires here, they run over to the solenoid, and then we need power to here for our ignition coil, so we need 12 volts here. So one will be supplied from the one side of the solenoid and the other side will be out to the ignition coil. And then a lot of this other stuff we just don't need. If it was for lights or a charging system or something, I don't think he cares about that. So we'll get this clamped down on the lift table here a little bit better. It's got a pipe that sticks out the bottom for the oil drain, so I'm gonna have to try to slide it off the edge of the table somehow and get it clamped down. So I'll get going doing that and then bring you back. So for now, I'm just gonna cap off these hot wires, other than I'm pretty sure this black one goes to the coil, so I might unravel and see what we got going on here. Unravel all the tape. This old electrical tape can be really tough to get off. So now we've got, I think this one would have been a charging wire, unless that's power to the key, which that also could be, because this is, yeah, that would be power to the key. This one would be the trigger wire that engages the solenoid, and then this one would be for your ignition coil. So we need 12 volts to this to check for spark, and then I'll probably just put the jumper pack on the starter over there just to spin it over. So I'll get a jumper wire. I'm just gonna throw wire nuts on these for now. I know we actually need those, so I don't want to just cut them off, because I would like this to be able to start with the key for him. He just mainly wanted it running, but I'd like to get it so it actually starts correctly. So we'll pull the spark plug out of it. Well, it doesn't look too bad. The Bosch spark plug, those are usually decent. I'm not sure if that's actually the correct plug for it though. It doesn't really look like it's long enough. And I'll get a jumper wire, so we'll power up that coil, and then we'll try turning it over. Alright, I got a jumper wire powering the coil. Now when I hook up my jumper pack, it makes a squealing noise, just to let you know. We'll see what happens here. I'm not seeing any spark. So I'm going to take this cover off here and see if the points are dirty or rusted or anything. a little hard to get in here. It's this exhaust in the way. Oh yeah, they're severely corroded. I don't know how well you can see in there, but you can see they're all white. So I'll clean those up and then we'll try it again. I think I got them pretty good. We'll give it a try again. Gotta hook my jumper wire back up and try it again. There we go. I didn't think it would be too difficult to get this thing to spark. These are a pretty simple ignition system. It's got the points down here and the coil up here, and then there's a condenser down in there. And then you just basically need to give the coil power, and usually it'll spark up for you. So now I want to make sure there's enough oil in it and everything, and maybe we'll try dribbling a little gas in there and see if it fires for us. If it does, then we'll continue on and do this electrical, and then I'll have to rig up an auxiliary fuel tank for it because he didn't bring a fuel tank in with it, so we'll go from there. So I had to rig this up a little bit different, being that I want it to run now. Before I was turning the jumper pack off to stop cranking it over, so I've got this positive lead on the one side of the terminal on the solenoid, and then my jumper wire there, and then I'm going to have to jump from this one to here. Should kick the starter, and otherwise if the solenoid doesn't work, I'll have to jump from here to the positive to get it to turn over. And once it's running, then it'll be just power to the coil. Alright, I dribbled some 2-cycle gas down in the cylinder, and then I did take the air cleaner off just to make sure we weren't sucking any mouse junk or anything in there, and then I checked the oil and that actually looked really clean. So we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Well, it fired. It sounds like we got some acorns or something in there under that cover. We'll probably have to blow that out of there, but that's a good sign anyway. It sounded okay. There's no clanging or anything. So we'll get started wiring this up. I don't know how much I'll film of the wiring. It's kind of boring just putting connectors in and shrink tubing and stuff. So I might just bring you back when I get it and show you what I did. So I got the wiring all buttoned up here. I'll have to zip tie it around and stuff, but I left it hanging out so you could see. So it was kind of color coded. There was an orange wire coming off the regulator here that was the charging wire out of the key, and then I had this green wire was power in. That was the main one I was looking for, which green is not usually a power in wire, so that was kind of a tricky one to figure out. And then this black wire was power to our coil, and then this red was the power to crank. So I believe this is the dash out of a wheel horse mower, but I'm not 100% sure. But now it cranks. I think that battery's kind of dead though. We still might have to jump it. It was just one I had laying around to test. And then this one here I think was just for like lights or some auxiliary thing, so I'll probably just cut that end off of that and tape it up so it doesn't arc on anything. But we're getting closer. I do need to get all this junk out of here. I'll probably bring it outside and blow that out, and then rig up a fuel tank. This fuel line here comes out of the fuel pump. Looks like it's got some junk in there, so I'll probably pull that off and blow that out. The line actually is pretty pliable still, so I think that'll be okay. So I think the next step, we'll take it outside and I'll blow it off, and then we'll continue on. I got it blowing off pretty good. I think there's still a little bit of junk in there. It'll probably blow out once we fire it up. I'm gonna throw this air cleaner back on it. I did blow that air cleaner out also while I was out there. And I still might end up having to go through the carburetor, but I think it was stored dry, so I think it'll be okay, but we'll see. I usually end up having to go through the carburetor on stuff like this that's been sitting. So we'll take the fuel line off now. I'm just gonna blow through that with air, make sure that's clear. Just actually seen a little bit of garbage fall out of it. And as you can see, maybe I might just end up putting a new line on. I don't know if I want to risk that. It had like dirt in the end of it that just blew through, so I'll probably just throw a different line on there. He's gonna have to redo it anyway because he's gonna put a fuel tank on it and everything. So I'll get that set up, and then I'm gonna button up the wiring a little bit, and then we'll see if it fires up. Well, I got it outside with a fuel tank on it and ready to give it a try. I'm gonna try it with just the battery first. I might have to jump it though, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try dribbling a little fuel in there again, see if we can get it primed up. The fuel pump is probably dry, so it's not sucking the fuel up probably, otherwise it's just a bad fuel pump or the carb is gummed up. Try that. Try that one more time. I think I flooded it with that last bit of gas I put in there. It does look like we have fuel up to the carburetor because the float bowl gasket was leaking a little bit. Oh yeah, that's really wet. Wonder if we didn't have some moisture in the... It kind of looks like there's a little bubble on there, a bead. That usually means there's water. So we'll pop that float bowl off and see if there's anything in that carb. That jet might be plugged in the center of that or something. So we'll do that quick and hopefully that solves the problem. Pull this air cleaner back off of here. Pretty much never fails if I don't look at the carburetor. It ends up needing it. If I do tear it apart, a lot of times it doesn't need it. Now we should be able to get that float bowl off of there. This one's just got a 9/16. Boy, that's really tight. Usually if they're tight like that, it means that they're corroded in there. So we might have to just take this carb all the way off. Oh yeah, you can see all the rust. I'll have to take it all the way off. It must be plugged solid. So I'm gonna take this carburetor right off of here. We'll soak it in the parts wash or in the ultrasonic cleaner. These just have like a clip on the linkage there. You just pop off. Then we got a clamp here, and then just the 2 bolts. And this choke cable wasn't really doing anything. I'll probably replace that clamp. That's not the right one anyway. And this fuel line looks pretty well rotten. I don't know if I can get in here with the flathead or not. Oh, we're at the float bowl. You can see it's pretty rusty. These are not the easiest thing to get to, but they are slotted, so if you get one side out, you can just slide it off like that. You can see that they're slotted holes like that. I'll get that on the bench and get tearing into it. I don't know if you can see down in there, that is just all corroded and completely plugging off that main jet, so that was never gonna go. The float doesn't feel like it's got any fuel in it, so that's a good sign. That needle looks okay. Actually looks like the needle seat is fairly new. I think somebody might have replaced that. I don't know if we'll get that jet out of there. I'll grab a bigger screwdriver. No, that's pretty stuck in there. I'll just leave that one alone. Just push the wire through it. I have to soak it first though. That's, oh, this one's got a needle down in there from the top. So that was 2 3/4 turns adjusted out. So that needle goes all the way through, and then that has a little hole in it there, and then another one up here. So we'll soak that. Now we should be able to put a wire up through, which that actually was fairly open, but I'm sure it was rusted around that needle. And be careful with that, I don't have another one of those. And we got a low speed over here. 1/2, about 3/4 of a turn. That one was adjusted. That one actually looks pretty clean. I think that's about all we have to take apart on this. One thing that'll go bad sometimes is if there's, this one actually does have quite a bit of play in the throttle shaft, and it'll suck air past there, so it'll be getting air past the butterfly, so it'll actually make the engine run faster. You won't be able to get it to really idle, and sometimes it'll make them run a little bit lean. But this one's probably still okay. It is loose, but it should still run halfway decent. I'll get that soaking, and then I'll bring you back when we get it put back together. I got the carburetor out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Looks quite a bit better. There's still a little bit of markings from the corrosion on the aluminum, but we'll throw this back together and then get it back on there, and we'll see if we can get it fired up this time. And throw a different piece of fuel line on here before I put the carb back on, and some different clamps. I got it outside again. Let's give it another try. I went a little too far on the adjustment. Doesn't want to idle. I've been trying to adjust it, the carburetor a little bit. We'll see what it does now. I readjusted it back. So that throttle shaft is affecting our idle a little bit, but it still runs pretty good when it's wide open, so I think we'll call that good. I am going to test the charging system just to see if that's working. I did hook that up, so we'll do that and then we'll probably be done. So right now you can see we're at like 12.6 volts. We'll start it up and see what it charges at. So as you can see, it was charging at over 14 volts, which is a little bit high, but this battery is really dead. And when I turned the jumper pack on, then it dropped down to like 13.5 volts. So it's charging okay, and it seems to run pretty good. That throttle shaft is kind of what's giving it kind of a miss and stuff. It does have an air leak there, but other than replacing the carburetor, there's not really much fix for that. So I'm sure he's just going to end up running it that way. But that's going to do it for this one. If you like this sort of thing, like the videos and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.